Hey interwebs, I'm Rev, and this week we meet a space goddess while talking about Greenlight, get besieged by an awesome game out of the UK. Is that an echo? Paranautical Activity returns. Grab your torches and your pitchforks, because this is episode 42 of the Indie Game Riot. Indie Game Riot!
Hey everybody, this is episode 42. 42 is what I'm trying to say. And we've got...
It's the meaning of life.
This is the meaning of life episode. We've got this particular episode has some interesting news bits. I'm kind of excited to talk about that, but of course, we kind of go back to our traditional roots. We're done with all the the cons and indicates and concades or whatever the hell.
Yeah, stuff.
No interview today. We were gonna have an interview. I think I mentioned that last episode. We were gonna have an interview with Quadratron Games, but they had to reschedule. It's kind of like a cat and mouse, but we'll get it done. So it's kind of back to a traditional episode today where we have some news and discussion and, of course, amazing indie games. And,
right.
But before we get into all that, let's talk about our lives, because everyone cares about our lives. What's been going on with you, Tech?
So I, not a lot really. I mean, just spending some time with the girlfriend. Today I almost died on the sketchiest goddamn road in the county. There's this road. Almost. Yeah, exactly. I'm so close. At least just almost destroyed my car. There's this road in my county called, I can't even remember the name, but it's it's technically a road, but it's an unmaintained, unincorporated farm road that the county comes out every 3 or 4 years and fills the potholes. Dude, but they just take dirt and sand and just sort of yeah, that's done, and then they fuck off. And I had to deliver.
Half the roads around where you live lead to nowhere.
No, dude, no. This is this is if nowhere sort of once had a road at some point. I'm talking.
That road that road that I was on going to your house that I got lost.
That was a new road. Yeah.
That was Shel Silverstein's end of the sidewalk, where the hell that was called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. It was just like a fucking drop off.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I was talking to Bill, who's another one of the drivers who lives near where I was delivering this pizza, and he's like, "Oh yeah, and there's this crazy sinkhole that right on the side of the road." And I'm looking back and I'm like, "Yeah, I saw that. It was filled with water. I think, oh, it's just a puddle." And then I'm going over and it's just bang! And it's and my car, I'm just thinking it's I just fucked up my car. My car's broken. Oh my God, is there a flat tire? Did this pizza just kill my car? Do I have a job anymore? But, really just, chilling, I guess, working when I have to, having a good time, I guess. I guess that's the best way. Playing a lot of really fun games. I played a lot more PlanetSide. Again, the jury is out on whether PlanetSide 2 is an independent game or not now. But,
I don't know. That's...
It's on that line, but I think leaning more towards not. So, Rev, what about you?
Work, more work, and then some more work. In fact, I have tonight, as of recording, I left work early. I'm really liking my new flex schedule.
I was going to ask about that.
It's not bad, but I also have this compulsion to go into the office as early as possible. So it's finished up work yesterday at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was in the office by 10 or 10:30. So, it's kind of it's hit or miss at the moment, but I'm sure that as I spend more time in it, I'm gonna adjust. Today after the show, I've got 6 hours worth of stuff that I need to do. So it's been fun. I have played no games this week. I spent about an hour last week playing Batman Arkham Origins. And other than that, I haven't had time. Yeah.
You know, you.
Played a game. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Oh, I was just gonna say, I was thinking about Rev's recent like schedule change and how he went to like a flex time sort of schedule, and I go back to the late 90s, early 2000s Dilbert cartoon show where Dilbert goes to the other company and is like introduces a flex time idea to the company, and it literally crumbles to the ground. So Rev, has your productivity like crumbled to the ground, or are you?
No, actually, it's stayed about on par. In fact, it's slightly improved because now I understand that, you know, if I really feel like it, I can just sleep until I'm done sleeping. So, you know, it's not a matter of can I get this done before 10 o'clock at night so that I can get enough sleep to wake up and get into the office in time. It's more of I'm still awake and I'm still working on this, and they're going to be fine as long as I get in there at some point.
So you're more productive.
Yeah.
Cool.
And not having distractions and whatnot, you know, from calls and stuff like that, really helps. How about you, Josh?
Well, I was mentioning you were talking about not playing any games, and it just reminded me, I played a game because I recently got a PS4 with PlayStation Plus, and you get like 3 games from PlayStation Plus. I played, this isn't what I was going to talk about before, but I just thought of it. I played Valiant Hearts.
Okay.
And it's a game released by Ubisoft, but for some reason people are considering it indie.
Really?
Because I think there's not a whole lot of people worked on it.
Well, like Ubisoft's kind of been doing that though, where they'll like they'll like splinter off pieces of teams and just like go make a game. And like that was with what's that game? Grow Home. Grow Home is basically an indie game, but it's made by Ubisoft developers and published by Ubisoft, where Ubisoft is basically like, hey, you group of people, go over there and make an artsy game.
Make sure it's black and white.
Yeah, exactly. No, that game's actually kind of cool. But yeah, I know, right? Like that's sort of what Ubisoft has been a weird developer recently, like mobile games,
but
and
they're up and down with me. Sometimes I'm like, good job, Ubisoft, and other times I'm like, Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft. What I've been really doing, actually, I've been really busy setting up this new PC. I would show you all, but I kind of set up
on it.
But yeah, I built my own PC, which saves some money rather than getting it like from Origin or something like that. Unless Origin wants to sponsor it, I'm not sure.
It's all about I buy power, man. Not a sponsor. Not a sponsor.
No, I got all the parts myself. Made sure they were all the stuff. And surprisingly, not a whole lot of issues. Just a few things that we forgot to plug in. You know, that's the hardest part, is figuring out where all the little plugs go on a motherboard, like for the power supply and all that stuff. But that was about it, really. Other than that, what I think is harder is actually setting up after you download Windows, or after you install Windows, is setting up all the drivers that you need. Like you have to remember everything. What else?
Yeah.
But I mean, everything's working, and surprisingly, it's actually, I expected a lot more shit. So, you know, crossing my fingers, and hopefully that. What is happening with your webcam?
I am sorry.
What are you doing?
I don't know. Something weird happened, and I'm fixing it now. I'm sorry about that. For those of you watching live, watching this happen live, I'm just trying to fix stuff. There we go. All right, that should be better.
Yeah, Friday the 13th, your light flash is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like the girl from PT.
Yeah,
Speaking of fixing things,
yeah, really.
I need a fix. An indie news injection.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah. Are you bored with the same old games?
Yeah.
Why, then give yourself an indie news injection.
Thanks, Indie Games.
All right, guys. This week on Indie News Injection, we have a first, yet another. Indie Gamer Chick, as you know, as you've heard us announce on the show before, has joined us in a kind of collaboration project. Put our money where our mouths are. We've got to come up with a better name than that.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
She's the one that came up with it. So blame
Oh,
her.
never mind. All right.
She and I were talking about it on Twitter, and she's like, "You're right. We got to change that. It's a mouthful."
She asked me to come up with like a little banner logo type thing.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was kind of cool. She didn't like it. She said it was creepy because it was like a mouth with a money. Out of it.
Yeah, that's kind of
Money
creepy.
is disgusting.
What?
Um,
Why is it creepy?
Well, anyways, she released our first collaboration project. We suggested the game Shine to her. It was featured during last month's Riot.
Tech had choice words.
I didn't know, but hey, it was a very good
She
game.
had choice words.
That's true. She
definitely did. And I think this is a great thing for us as well as the general public, because you can watch our show and you can see us kind of gushing about it and our likes and dislikes about it. And if this is any indication, you can kind of see her pull down into it a little bit more critically. Because we have no problems giving critique, but we try and keep things much more upbeat and celebratory. And so when she has valid criticisms of this game, and I completely agree with everything that she said. But I enjoyed the game in large part because of the things that she critiqued it about. So if you're interested in checking that out,
I was gonna say like one of the major things she had to complain about was like it's supposed to be like a puzzle platformer, and it has a challenge where basically you're jumping into the unknown and you die.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the criticisms
like that though.
Yeah. A lot of things that she had problems with, I sort of had problems with too, and I sort of talked about in the episode. I'm sorry, pardon my cat, who is currently wanting to place herself between me and my keyboard, which is her favorite spot. With like hit detection was a little bit weird. The jumping was a little bit. You didn't have as much control of it as I think someone would like, but like I understand her criticisms. I still think it's a great game. And that everybody should obviously check it out. And again, the fundraiser, not fundraiser, the organization that Indie Game Riot and Indie Gamer Chick are helping is definitely worth the cause.
Epilepsy Foundation.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're interested in reading her thoughts and comparing and contrasting them with our thoughts, you can head over to indiegamerchick.com and do a search for Shine. At the moment, I believe it is the top article. Moving right along, what do you got?
Yeah, actually, speaking of things that would be a good thing to send money to, that was anyway. If you haven't seen, Rev and I, Tech wasn't able to make it, but Rev and I were able to, we had the opportunity to interview the devs of a horror game all the way while they were at GDC. We did it remotely. The horror game's called Hektor. Go check out the interview if you are interested on IndieGameRiot.com. But Hektor is a horror game it's heavily inspired by the frictional games kind of games where Amnesia and Penumbra. They also have I don't know if it actually inspired them, but there was a kind of outlasting kind of feel to it. I think it's just because of the psychological aspect of it. But what was really cool and what they put their own twist into is they call it the Jigsaw engine. They made their own engine for it, where it's procedurally generated, so there's replay value, and by procedurally generated, it's because the whole reason behind it is because you're going insane. You take these pills, it helps you go less insane, but you're still going insane, and things just change around you all the time. However, even though it's procedurally generated, you're still on a linear story. So I think it's cool that they mixed it together. It's not completely random. You're still there's still an end game. There's still a story to be told. But at the same time, you can different experience every single time you play.
Definitely lots of fun.
Yeah, and that is Ruby Cone Games. That's the developer, and it's currently 25% off because it just came out. It's 25% off, so it's $14.99. Normally it's $19.99. Go check it out on Steam or buy it from the website or all that sort of stuff.
Definitely.
And they've got
sorry,
just one last little bit there. They're also releasing it with the original soundtrack for a grand total of $18.74 combined.
Do it.
Yeah.
And that promotion ends March 20th.
Speaking of Steam and seemingly random things, Steam Greenlight. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I think everybody sort of understands that it might not be the best platform for game developers to push their games. Some games come out on Steam Greenlight, like a lot of the games that we've talked about on Peep Show and our show, and they've turned out to be really good. And then other games get on Greenlight and they get greenlit, but they're not very good. And it's almost like Steam Early Access, except worse in some people's opinion. And at GDC, Valve basically talked about switching Greenlight into a more user-generated store. It's hard. We were talking about this before the show. It's sort of confusing as to what exactly they plan on doing with it, other than that they're doing something. Basically, they talk about, like I said, moving it into basically a user-curated sort of store without many more details on that. Other than that, at some point in the future, they're going to be revamping the Greenlight aspect of things. What that has for games that are on Greenlight or have already been greenlit but are not currently out, I honestly don't know.
It's kind of scary.
Exactly. Especially considering that it's Valve, and Valve has so much power over the distribution of games for the PC right now.
But they're saying it's going to improve it. I mean, they're saying that it's going to be more user-generated, user-curated, and I feel like maybe we're misinterpreting what they're saying.
Possibly. That could definitely be it.
Because you are right. Like when you think that, you're like, but that's going to make it.
Yeah,
worse.
exactly.
Because it's going to be like the Wild West. Like it's no rules. It's just going to be a big popularity contest. They're going to, they could buy. It's going to turn into like those companies that like sell traffic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like we can sell Greenlight votes. And
which has already happened.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And then we're getting more 2066s.
Exactly.
But
yeah, it's very strange. Obviously, I think that we can at least trust Valve to make good business decisions with their main source of income. I mean, because Valve hasn't made a game since Portal 2. Right, like they've been focusing on Steam. They are trying to streamline it as best they can. We saw the new rules for early access come out, and no, it didn't necessarily fix all of the early access problems, but it definitely made early access a much better experience for a lot of people. There was an idea that I had, possibly what Greenlight could turn into is sort of like the My Queue on Steam, where excuse me. Steam gives you a bunch of games that are trying to get on Steam, and they're like, hey, would you play this game? Would you play that game? And you're just like, yeah, maybe not. And those go to their own section of the store, ones that got enough votes. But I still don't really see how far off of Steam Greenlight that would be. And obviously this is just a waiting game. So we have to, wait and see what Steam has in store for Steam Greenlight, and maybe it might get harder to get your game on Steam. Maybe it'll be significantly easier, or maybe they'll even roll out a completely different, sort of line of store sort of deal. But
we might also see. I mean, I was going to say, or maybe you can get it on Indie Game Riot.
That's true.
We have our own store.
Yeah.
Open. But actually, it's interesting because I've been hearing a lot about. If you don't know, there's a YouTuber named Nerdcube.
Yeah.
He actually can't stand Steam. He's announced it so many times, and he wants to open up his own thing just because, as a counterpart to Steam, because he doesn't like how Steam runs things. Maybe that's going to happen. Maybe there's going to be a lot more competition because people are just tired of it.
Possibly.
Dicking around.
It is sort of a monopoly, and obviously we can make a whole show about, is Steam good? Is Steam the devil? and especially considering the current influx of a lot of new PC based game stores like the Humble Store and Desura, and I guess Origin, but more so for their own things, over there in the corner. But yeah, we're going to be talking about it when more details come out. But yeah, Steam Greenlight's going to change. We don't know how.
We'll see. I mean, of course, they always say that. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what else has changed?
What's that?
A game on Steam.
That's true. Back to Steam.
Back to Steam. Okay, so we've talked about Paranautical Activity. That was an Indie News Injection segment. Where the developer threatened to kill Gabe, and so got his game pulled from Steam. It's back. It's back, and it's on sale under the awesome title of the Paranautical Activity Deluxe Atonement Edition. Now, the way they went about this is kind of interesting. So there's a publishing person, literally it's just a person that operates Digerati Distribution and Marketing, and apparently he approached the creators of the game and said, I'd like to take this over. They signed something. There's a lot of NDA in the way, but Digerati now has the complete rights and everything to the IP of Paranautical Activity. But I don't know how I feel about this, because on the one hand, NDA non-disclosure says he can't tell us whether or not he's still paying royalty to the developers. And if that is the case, then I say, fuck that, and I'm still not buying it. But if it isn't the case, if he legitimately now has 100% everything and doesn't pay any royalties, then I'm okay with this. Now, I reached out to Nick at Digerati and asked if he had some time today to do a kind of a quick Q&A with me. But he hasn't responded back. So hopefully we could get some more information on it from there. Now, any questions thus far?
Well, why is it, if he was paying royalties, just tell me why that would be so offensive to you?
Because I don't believe in rewarding behavior. Bad behavior. It's much the same reason, when your kid breaks one of the family rules, and you don't take her out for ice cream as a reward for breaking the rules.
Yeah, but
that's
she's
true.
Not the creator originally, as you are.
True, but in this particular case, it's kind of a metaphor, so you got to work with me on that, Josh.
You also sort of have to consider, though, like, if those royalties are being paid, are those getting paid to all of the team for what they contributed to the game, or have all those people already been paid? They're gone, they're out the door, they're working for other companies now, if they are so lucky to find them, which is sort of usually the case.
The answer to that is Nick just found out that there's apparently some contractual money issues between the creators of Paranautical Activity and the composer of the soundtrack. So, Nick here has definitely bit off a big thing, and I want to give him props for that, because Paranautical Activity looks like an awesome game. A lot of people are thoroughly enjoying it and are really passionate about it. But there's so much work that needs to be done in order to, get that into a state where the goodwill of the community is still present.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what this guy's like. I don't know what his resources are like, but I just can't believe that I mean, I know he's finding out about this stuff, but he had to have known at least just with the drama. Like, that's still a lot to take on as a public company. Public meaning like you're a public guy. And then being the only person to run it. I mean, that's a lot to handle. I'm just surprised he was even willing to do that. But he must have had some sort of plan. If not, then he's stupid or crazy.
I don't know, but I feel like the fact that it is on Steam right now, like it's not easy to get a game on Steam. Like even though we were just talking about Greenlight, like, oh yeah, it's super easy to get a game on Steam. It's not actually that easy to get a game on Steam, especially one with 1,080 reviews. That has been taken off of Steam and now is back on Steam. So you have to think that this guy has to know at least something of what he was doing. Like if it's some guy in a basement just doing this like with no upfront capital, I feel like that isn't even possible.
The PR behind it though, even the negative PR, I mean, you know what they say, any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're talking about it's hard to do that. Well, he's got a shit ton of publicity, even though it's negative.
That's true.
A lot of people are checking it out, of course. But you also mentioned too before the show, we were talking about it. Another kind of interesting tidbit is that it was Kickstarter who's responsible for the Kickstarter.
That's something that came up several times in the Steam. In the Steam forum conversation about this, and I just want to say that Nick appears to be doing as much as he can to say, look, there are things that I'm still not necessarily aware of, that I'm still finding out, but who is going to be responsible for the Kickstarter aspect of it? Because there were stretch goals and there were rewards and stuff like that. So
if I remember correctly, and I don't know if Kickstarter and Indiegogo have the same policy, but I feel like we touched on this a few episodes ago, where the responsibility of the rewards falls under the individual or the company that the Kickstarter was for.
Okay.
And that is their responsibility, and they are held accountable for what they promised. I think it was brought up when
that's how I would imagine.
About, that it was brought up when we were talking about the Yogs Cast game getting
unless
canceled.
It was just using subleased, via their legal agreement when you bought the game.
Right, exactly.
But that's not between Kickstarter and that's between different companies. However, let me just put this out there. Again, I don't know this guy's resources, but just assuming he's well off enough to, his company's well off enough to actually do the Kickstarter, wouldn't it be at least maybe a good PR move?
To try and meet that? Yeah, in a heartbeat. I mean,
yeah.
Then you're taking away the responsibility from the guy who's actually responsible for it.
And who received the money and who, I don't know.
Exactly.
It doesn't feel right to me to expect Nick to go through with this, but at the same time, he's the one that took it on, and brought it back. So
he's a big boy, though. He can make his own decisions.
Yeah.
True.
And the other thing is that he's very active. I feel like this wasn't just like a corporate acquisition that is going to be just like, here's the game again, buy it. We're talking. I'm looking right now at where he posted about how he's now the owner of the rights of this game, and this is like a 4-paragraph, like many hundreds of words post that he's responding to about this one question, and there's 10 pages of comments about this, and obviously he's not commenting about everything else, but about absolutely everything. But he's definitely, unless this is all some sort of like ruse and it was literally just a matter of, hey, your game isn't on Steam, you're losing money, here's a lump sum, give me everything, and then I'm just gonna screw off and not do any, and just let it happen, right. Sort of deals. Like it feels like he cares, and there are people talking about bugs, and he was talking about looking into it. Again, like
getting into a code that you have nothing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when you're not a programmer.
Yeah,
I mean, he talks about in the forum. He talks about how his focus for game development has always been on the business side of things. He has friends and associates and contractors that he works with that he can reach out to. So I'm hesitant. Like I'm glad it came back, but I still have questions. And unfortunately, Nick was not responsive. Granted, he doesn't know from Adam. And I just kind of reached out to him like 2 hours before the show.
That's
and was
true.
like, "Hey, message me back on Skype. I've got questions about it."
And I think if we could get him on the show or get like a written statement from him, that would, I think, go a long way to, I don't know, like really sort of either set things right or clear up a lot of the misconceptions that may be happening with the like where the game is, where it's going. How it got where it is, etc.
Yeah. Well, one way to keep the point across.
How?
You can start a riot. Okay, everybody. This week on Starting the Riot, we have a game that is a real-time strategy, voice-controlled game. Indie game, mind you. This is hard to do, voice control. It's called There Came an Echo, and actually it has some really big, just right off the bat, I just want to point out that it has some really big voice actors in it. There's Will Wheaton, Yuri Lowenthal, I can't remember. I can't look at the list because I have to have the gameplay footage up so you guys can see. Ashley Birch, yeah. You can look at it. But right now it was released a little bit like a couple weeks ago, last month, by damn it,
Iridium Studios.
Iridium Studios. I'm blanking on everything because that's the problem of not having two screens.
Yeah.
But Iridium Studios, and I think what is it, $15.20?
It's $15.99.
$15.99. Currently on sale on Steam. And it's. What really intrigued me about this was the voice control. When you're talking, first of all, it looks really nice, but you're talking about voice control, which is an unusual mechanic in most games, and 9 times out of 10, it's not done very well. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
What
Mass Effect? What
did Mass Effect do that?
Mass Effect had Kinect interplay that.
Well, see, I never played
fantastic.
That. But, I played a game on 360 years ago called End War. It was a Tom Clancy game.
I have that game.
You do?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It is a fun game. That was like one of the few games that actually did pretty well with it. However, you do have to be, a lot of what I'm reading about this game, I don't know about End War or anything like that. It's supposed to have a really good software, I guess you would say, for recognizing voice and speech and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, if you have an unusual accent in any way, that's not like the standard English, right. I guess it has a hard time recognizing what you're saying.
Well,
so it's not very
common with most, like the Scottish people, like
yeah.
for whatever reason, their accent, there is no text to speech or text recognition thing.
Yeah, that's because you can't understand half the shit they say.
You get acclimated to it, but like, I mean, but to be fair, like if it takes somebody, you know, like a few hours to like understand what someone's saying, like a program isn't going to be able to just do it. But I mean, like that's a common problem that, you know, a lot of programs have. So maybe the voice recognition isn't for you. Is this game only voice recognition based?
I don't think it's only. I think there's some. I think it's mostly mouse control outside of that. Right. But I think the voice recognition comes in kind of like, imagine, like right now the gameplay is showing the beginning of the game, so it's not. I can't. You know, not really getting the full effect, but. I from the gist that I get is like imagine XCOM with voice control. Like say, like you know, exactly. This unit go here, this unit attack with this skill or whatever. You know what I mean?
It's basically everything that when you were like, growing up, you were like, oh man, I wish when I was playing this RTS, I'd be like, Squad A, go kill X.
You know, it's like your Otacon in Metal Gear Solid telling Snake what to do. You know what I mean? It's like kind of the same thing. I just think that's it's impressive for an indie studio to do this and to pull it off, and on top of that, make the game look good and have a fun mechanic otherwise for a strategy game. What do you guys think of it just by, you know, just outside even the voice control?
Go ahead, Tech.
It does have that very sort of like XCOM feel to it, but it's not turn-based.
Yeah, it's real-time strategy.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And I'm really big on that real-time strategy. I don't know if I'm like personally really big on sort of like squad-based real-time strategy, and that's sort of come up a lot recently with like This War of Mine and a lot of other games that take you really close into the combat. And I don't, and I know you said not to bring up the voice controls, but I really wonder like how much control someone can do with their voice that you can do with like a mouse and a keyboard, like especially how you would go about programming that, how you would go about like having things actually do what you actually like, what you want them to do. Because you think about it, it's like keyboard and mouse, you have, you know, tons of different button combinations. Then you go to a controller and it's like, you know, a little bit, you know, less control, but you still have it in your hand. And then you go to voice.
Right.
Like
this actually, I'm watching the trailer right now on my phone since my internet is on the laptop that could play videos is currently down, and there's they have the functionality that you can program your own commands.
Oh, okay.
Right. And if you're watching the gameplay, it gives you basically, it pops up with like options while you're playing. It slows down the game. It's like go left, go right. So you have to shout it out, I would imagine, into your thing. Because the guy in the game is on the phone, so I'm assuming you're playing as the guy that's talking to him. Which, you know, feeds into the whole voice activation thing. Now, let me ask this question. Remember last week we were talking with White Knight, we were talking about games using things like for what's the word? Kind of trope? No, not trope, but like just as like kind of like to reel people in, like like it's like side
like a hook.
A hook is a good name for it. It's not the word I was looking for, but yeah. Do you think that this is just that kind of like, even it maybe isn't necessary, that they're just using it to like say, hey, look at this game, it's got a cool mechanic?
I feel like it could be, considering that they're like, hey, it's a AAA voice cast, and oh yeah, the voice acting, oh yeah, it's voice based. Like I can kind of see that, but at the same time, like there are definite merits to the gameplay itself, and not only that, but like the art of the game does look really cool, especially for like a 3D top down isometric game. It's pretty darn good. As for like the whole voice recognition thing, like I guess it's a little bit gimmicky.
Gimmick is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, exactly. But like at the same time, why not? You know, why not have that functionality built in if they can do it? You know,
it's like with we were talking about End War. You didn't have to use.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't
have to, but your control options were dramatically limited.
I think. Well, even outside of that, I think even if you had the same controls that you could use with the keyboard and mouse, I think it brings into the immersion. It brings you into the game.
especially because they did design the game sort of around that mechanic. Like, especially because, he's on the phone, you're telling him what to do.
Well, and if you look at the voice commands as a supplement to your controls,
yeah,
I think that sets the right mentality for the approach for this.
Yeah,
at least that's my thought.
I anything in my mind is a positive if it can do anything to suck you in to the world of that game even more.
Yeah.
So I think it's necessary in that way. You know what I mean? Even if you could play it with just regular controls completely.
Right.
I'm getting a very Deus Ex feel out of this. Am I alone in that?
I feel like it. I don't know if that's like the.
I think
like
it has something to do with the office.
Everything is.
Yeah, I think it's the setting because the office buildings and the corporate the cold corporateness.
Maybe sort of the way that everything is, like maybe the character models. It's very art. That's very art driven, I think. But also sort of I get that feeling. It does feel like a lot of other games. In fact, you
could say that about any game.
Even the logo looks like oh god.
You could say that about any game. I mean, it almost looks like a little bit like Transistor. You know what I mean?
That's true. It does look a lot like Transistor. I was thinking that. So
I mean, everyone's inspired by something. I don't think that's an issue.
Yeah, this is actually really bothering me because XCOM has the same logo as this game. Have you noticed that? It has the same.
It's a conspiracy. Oh no, we've unraveled it.
Illuminati.
It's just that the. I mean, I don't know. I mean, XCOM's fine. Like if you're into turn-based squad tactics, I mean, like XCOM, great game. But like, I don't know. Like, it's weird. That I guess I know that you could like go into a lot more detail than that, but really it's like it's a puzzling mix of game and features.
Now,
and
let me ask you this too. Like, have you ever some downsides to the voice control other than the accent thing? Because I don't actually know how good their software or coding or whatever it is that they use to do this is. Have you ever had gone into the customer service automated systems say this for you're like trying to figure out what movies are playing, so you're like,
recently those have been pretty good though.
And you're like
never called AT&T.
Uh-oh.
You're like Big Hero 6. Did you say big tits and I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Say or speak your 5-digit phone number.
Well, another big thing, I feel like because they were talking about this game coming out not only on Steam but also on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One
and Vita,
and the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One both have the ability to use voice controls. The Xbox One, I think, is a little bit more well implemented, but you still have the issue of, even when especially not trying to derail the conversation from just the game, but people have been complaining constantly about their Xboxes turning off and turning on and doing things that they don't want them to do. And this is a console that Microsoft made. If Microsoft doesn't have the funds to make it work, I mean, either it was corporate bureaucracy tape that made the developers of this of the voice commands not work, and made this indie developer able to get this to work perfectly, which big questions. I'm not saying it works perfectly, but I don't know. It's hard.
All the more impressive if
definitely
if it does work. So again, Iridium Studios, really interesting and what's the word I'm trying to think? I cannot.
Gimmicky.
I'm not gimmicky. Not this time. I'm not thinking of gimmicky.
It's intriguing.
It's
intriguing.
It is
intriguing. Yeah, it makes you ask.
It's a lot for you to pull out as an indie studio. So good job and good luck as you continue to do these sorts of things. I'm interested to see more and play more of it. Do you have any other last questions or any information I missed?
Does it come out on Linux? It's Windows only.
It's Windows only. Yeah. I have Windows, so I don't give a shit.
I mean,
I do
to be
too,
fair
but
though,
I-
think about how much crap they would have to go to port this to Mac. Like, oh yeah, it has to be compatible with these Mac peripherals, and it has to be compatible with
Totally,
open source
totally
Linux
don't
stuff.
care about Mac. Totally
That's
don't
true.
care. I'm not. Yeah. Anyways, I
Bye, all
was going
Mac
to say something
fans.
that would get us.
Bye,
I was
all
going to
Mac
say
fans.
something that would get me thrown out of a peep show. So.
That's Peep Show.
Please give all your attention to Early Access.
This week on Peep Show, have you ever wanted to construct medieval machinery and then destroy
All the time.
just whatever you wanted? It's like bulldoze.
That's my
that.
dream.
Do you want to go over there and bulldoze that? Do you want to make a catapult? Do you want to make a massive ballista slingshot that
Do you want to
throws
build a
bombs
snowman?
through the air? Well, you might not be able to build a snowman in this next game, but you can do a lot of things in this alpha build of Besiege. Besiege is, as I said, it is a medieval style building game where you are given a bunch of parts and basically told, go destroy that, or get to this point, or pick up this and carry it over there. It is currently in alpha. There's only one sort of map story, campaign mode to go through, and then you have the sandbox area, but they also have a lot of different continents on this world that they have in development. You start out with a little cube, and you attach little wood blocks to that, and you can put wheels, and the wheels go forward and back, and depending on how you set the key bindings to different wheels and different things, you can make it steer around. You can have there are pistons that move up and down. There are springs. All of these things have different adjustability on how springy the springs are, how fast the wheels turn, or the direction that they turn. And this is only for the ground vehicles. You can also, there are complete, air physics in this game. Mm-hmm. So you can build, and mind you, the physics are pretty realistic. So you're going to run into
kind of
problems.
wonky.
Exactly. To where you can build helicopters and planes, and you're going to have to play with it and figure it out and use actual sort of used science to make it work. So, you put propellers on a thing, and then it's going to go, it's going to start up, and then it's going to just flail around and crash into the ground until you actually know what you're doing. And I spent I spent an afternoon trying to figure out how that actually worked. And it's actually really simple, and there's so much functionality, and there's so much I want to replayability right now, not so much for the objectives, but more so with the what exactly can I build to do this, or what can I do that will set fire to the entire map, or what can I do to offend the most possible people, because there are builds
giant penis battering ram.
No, it's worse than that. It's like
Rev's giant phallus battering ram.
Yeah, exactly. And the best part is that you can save your creation and then have other people download that creation and play with it or change it.
Yeah,
or
it's heavy workshop.
Yeah,
friendly,
exactly. Yeah. I think this is where this game sort of comes into its own, because the community behind this game already is huge. We've had a lot of big Let's Players playing it, a lot of forum activity. You have people who have designed these crazy machines and these tiny mini games. There's a bowling game that somebody built with parts in Besiege where you can sort of control where the ball goes and how hard you hit it. And it's there's so much functionality in this game that I know the creators knew could be there, which is obviously why they implemented the Steam Workshop and the downloading of different models, functionality into this game. And it's really a lot of fun. It especially, I think, comes into its own where it's one of those games, how you have mobile games where you pick it up, you play it for 5 or 10 minutes or maybe even 30 minutes, and you put it down and you forget about it, and you're like, oh, I'm kind of getting that itch, and you pick it up and you do a few things, and you're like, oh yeah, cool, I did that, or oh no, I'm having a problem with that, and you put it back down. And currently it's on sale. You can buy the alpha for $7, $6.99 United States. That's for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And for a game that you just sort of like play around with, and you're like, oh, I have this idea, like let's try that out, or why didn't that work? Do I need more bracing? Am I doing something wrong?
You know one thing about this game, and I really am happy about.
What's that?
'Cause, I mean, it's this kind of like creative, like release your creativity kind of game. You're releasing it, but a lot of people are doing these kinds of games based off of say Minecraft, where you just like this full creativity, like, oh, here's all this stuff, really cool stuff I created. But then this person has taken that, let's be creative idea, and has turned it into a completely different IP.
Yeah, exactly.
And has it's just a brilliant idea. And I do think that they have another game similar to this, but it's not like middle-aged. It's not like the Middle Ages. It's like something else. I'm not sure if that's truth, but I get the feeling that there is.
Let me check.
But
Well, while he's looking into that, it is available on Mac, Linux, and PC. $6.99 by Spiderling Studios.
Yeah. I can't find any more details about other games there.
I like that. I'm looking at the gameplay too, and I like that the sheep are attacking you.
Yeah, exactly.
They list in their featured list for its current build, combustible livestock.
Yeah, exactly.
How can you go wrong with a game that features?
And it looks nice too. I mean,
I almost think that to a fault, almost. Like, this game looks so nice.
Yeah, you don't want to destroy it?
No, that it breaks itself. Like, because there are creations in this game that have so many parts, especially considering that we're working with a full physics engine in this game. I don't know the engine that they're using. I don't know, how all that works. Obviously, I'm not a game designer, let alone somebody who, designs physics engines. But it's a full physics engine, and when you have hundreds and hundreds of parts on a machine, and you hit play and it's at 100%, the game goes down to 4 frames per second.
Oh yeah.
And the only way to fix that is to lower the speed of the game, which you can very easily. If you're watching the gameplay right now, in the top left corner, there's this slider with the time, with like a clock thing. You can slide that left or right and either make the game run way fast or way slow. So even though the game does sort of break itself with the fact that it is, like, with so many parts, it just can't handle it, and it doesn't know what to do, and it's just gonna, make your graphics card chug along at 4 frames per second. You can make it run smoothly, but slower, which is, kind of cool. I really want to see them fix that and optimize this game a lot, especially because it's so minimal. Oh, it's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, being in early access, you would expect it.
It's still in early access, and B, like, I don't know if you guys saw the minimum specs.
Yeah.
It takes 1 gig of hard drive space.
Yeah, it's not
that's a lot of game to pack into a single gig. Only 2 gigs of RAM. You're looking at a 2.2 gigahertz processor. It runs on Windows XP.
Yeah, exactly.
Like native Windows XP.
The problems that I'm also expressing could be because I did turn everything up as far as I possibly could, because I'm like, this is a small game. I have a relatively powerful build. I'm going to push this thing to its limits and make it look very good. And for the most part, I'm getting 60 frames per second with moderately sized builds consistently, even with all the explosions, even with flying machines, even with all this stuff going on, for a game that is an alpha that has, technically like a beginning and an end sort of deal, with a lot more that they're saying is coming along the way.
Well, speaking of, what features have you seen that you're particularly excited about?
The flying
combustible livestock.
Yeah. The flying
no, that are coming in.
Oh, I have no idea.
I thought you said. I thought you said you saw
the different.
something.
Yeah, well, it's not features. It's more lands to conquer. So right now you have Ipsilon, which is the sort of island continent thing where there are different levels where you have to build, like a thing and break this or explode that.
Some of these failing, some of like the machines that fail are pretty spectacular.
Exactly.
But I think it'd be really cool. What I'd like to see, because that's the kind of player I am, is an actual. I know you said there's kind of like a campaign, but have like a little bit, like a tiny kind of a story behind it. Like there's an asshole king, and you're some guy.
Or it's like, or you're a mad scientist, and these people insulted you.
Yeah. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Exactly. Especially because right now the game is sort of like complete sandbox. You have access to everything. Go nuts. Implementing more like, right now you do have size restrictions. So you have to be able to beat the level within a certain constrained box. So the thing you make has to fit, at least at the beginning, in this box. Now, whether it expands into something larger after you start the game is another thing, which is also something you can do. But I would definitely like to see maybe like a budget, because even with games like Kerbal Space Program, where there's a sandbox mode where you can just have full reign of whatever you want to do, go nuts, and this game does have that. More constraints on the builds that you can do to sort of make it more challenging would definitely go a long way to make this game less of a, hey, let's see what we can do, this will be really fun, to, wow, I really have to wrap my head around this. I only have so many parts to do, X, or, oh, I have to use a minimum of so many parts because that is how much was allotted to me by this investor, basically.
Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm distracted by the failing
by the
machine.
gameplay. Yeah, exactly. The most fun thing in this game is to find just don't watch any tutorials. Just figure out a way how to make a catapult correctly, and then and the ensuing hilarity of like, oh, this will work. You hit play and you just immediately just boom, explode. You're like, why did I just explode?
Well, you know what else explodes?
What else explodes, Josh?
Free fun.
And this week on Free Fun, we have a goddess of everything in space. No, it's Space Goddess of Everything by Kaiju Sushi, located on itch.io. And it's kind of a puzzly exploratory type. It's a top-down isometric, and you're just trying to escape a space station in which you had issues. Now, I didn't have a whole lot of time to play this today. I was kind of busy, but it has some interesting mechanics. The first is you get control of a flying piece of candy that can protect you from things and collect other things in game. I haven't bothered to read the manual because I'm a firm believer that your game design should tell me everything that I need to know, or at least point me in the right direction, and I'm still having problems figuring stuff out. I actually downloaded the manual.
Can't even say it.
Right? I downloaded that just before my internet cut out, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, that makes more sense, and I'm going to have to give it another try. But it's kind of cute. The biggest draw for me on this is the soundtrack. If you get the opportunity, go check out the soundtrack for Space Goddess of Everything. Like, it meets all of those emotional beats that I like, because there's not a lot of what we would typically classify as suspense to it, but you're exploring and have no idea what the fuck's going on, and the music kind of imparts that to you. So it's fun. I'll say this. I had fun in the 30 minutes that I was playing it. I didn't get very far. My biggest complaint about it is that save points or checkpoints appear to be rather few and far between. And if you die, you either start over or go back to that, and there's a bit of a delay. Anytime you die, it starts replaying as though you've just started the game fresh, and you have to go ahead and load the thing. So you get the intro and all of that. Now you can skip it, but fail faster. Iteration is key, especially in something where the controls aren't necessarily the tightest, but you're still able to proceed, if that makes sense.
Now, mind you, this is again a free game on itch.io. Only so many resources there are. Not saying that a free game can't be good. And also, interesting fact: the whole way I even found out about this game was I saw an interview with itch.io founder. I forget the guy's name. I saw an interview with him, and one of the questions was, what are some games on itch.io that you feel are underrated, overlooked, all that sort of stuff? And this was like one of his big ones that he was like, yeah, this game's like really excellent. It should get a lot more attention. So it's just interesting that he apparently enjoys this game a lot. Yeah, and I think the puzzle aspect of it is actually, minus like like you said, the slow death and the checkpoints being kind of spread apart. The actual gameplay, the puzzle is pretty fun.
Yeah, no, like I said, I had fun with it for the amount that I got through it. And I'm reading over the manual right this moment, and apparently there are upgrades that you can earn. I'm not sure how that's going to work because I don't think I made it that far. But no, seriously, check out Space Goddess of Everything. Soundtrack is by Fabuloser. Yeah, kaijusushi.itch.io/SGOE, Space Goddess of Everything. And they released the soundtrack, and you'll want to grab the soundtrack. I promise you.
Definitely.
Do it. You know what else you want to grab?
Not me, hopefully. I'm taking.
Oh, shit.
So is Josh and Rev. Not us.
I'm taking twice.
I'm taking 3 times if you count my kids. And okay, never mind. I'm meaning that as in I love my family.
Me too.
Anyway, let's skip that. Pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah.
I forget how the transition was going. So this is the end of the show, and all good things must come to an end. But let me just tell you some information first, because that's what I do at the end of the show. First of all, we have a Patreon. If you want to see us grow and you want to see, we have a lot of really cool plans, many of which are listed on our Patreon, of what we want to do in the future. And if you want to help us get to that faster and help us grow and all that sort of stuff, please consider supporting the Patreon. $1 or more, anything like that per month is really helpful. You don't even have to do it per month. You can set it up for just a one-time thing too. And there's perks and everything like that you get for supporting us on Patreon and all that sort of stuff. Go check it out. Patreon.com/Indie Game Riot. If you are a game dev or know someone who is or have anything to do with the games, please contact us. Please do, because we could feature you on our show or on the website or anything like that, and we can get you some exposure. And that's what we do. We love to help out indie games and the indie game community. I'll tell you how you can contact us. First of all, if you happen to be watching on the live stream and you want to see like the edited version with bumpers and gameplay footage, or this has gameplay footage, but bumpers and background music, all that sort of stuff, check it on YouTube. Or I always do it. Indie Game Riot is hosted on YouTube, but it's on IndieGameRiot.com. If you're watching the recorded version, check us out on our live streams. You can actually chat with us, hitbox.tv/JaShinYa. You can check us on Twitter at IGR Podcast or Facebook.com/IGR Podcast. Or contact us by emailing us, contact@IndieGameRiot.com. All of this information, of course, you can find on our website, which is IndieGameRiot.com. How many times can I say it?
IndieGameRiot.com.
Thank you.
By Domino's.
Any last words, gentlemen?
I don't know, man. We're just getting so many cool new games. Like, I don't know. Maybe there was a lull around MagFest, but man, it's just
there was a lull after November. There was a pretty big lull, and now it's all coming back finally. And
full speed.
excited to see what's new this year.
Definitely.
Lots of good stuff for next year's Indie Game Riot Award.
Yeah.
And say goodbye.
See you next time, guys.
Have a good one, folks.
Toodles.